Panel that we have today is future-proofing perishable logistics through cold chain and packaging innovations. I don't know how serious is that subject in terms of future-proofing. Great to have all of you. Great to see a strong presence of women leaders on stage. Really happy to moderate this particular session. Just to put in context this particular subject, I'm looking at both in terms of opportunities and challenges for Kenya's fresh produce export and what is in it for all of us. In terms of opportunities, I see horticulture continues as the fastest growing subsector among Kenyan exports with annual growth of more than 7%. And these products include green beans, sugar snaps, okra, chili, eggplant, avocado, mango, pineapple, passion fruit, bananas, and strawberries. Smallholder farmers play an important role in fruit and vegetable production in a number of key value chains. Kenya's principal export markets are the UK, EU, as well as the Middle East. Direct flights to the USA is also what's there. Kenya has more than 200 exporters of fruits and vegetables. A number of exporters are investing in processing facilities closer to the point of production and not limiting them to urban areas and the locations of transport terminals. So these are some of the opportunities. As I quote some of these numbers may not be exact, but they are somewhere around that. And when it comes to challenges to place in context, how do we future-proof perishable logistics through cold chain and packaging innovations? Post-harvest losses are high, claiming an average of 30 to 60% of produce in Kenya and East Africa, with an estimated 37% of losses occurring during handling and storage. Again, 37% of losses, maybe plus, minus, not really specific, but there is significant amount of losses. This is something that we heard also in the morning discussion. Larger exporters are moving away from outgrower networks due to unreliability of quality and volume. And this quality of volume is not because of the production quality, but I think it is a lot of the quality is lost in terms of post-harvest handling and other cold chain, the lack of cold chain infrastructure. The challenge is also being identified as Kenya largely lacks third-party logistic providers for food chain facilities and transport key criteria of industry maturity for the GCCA. These are important opportunities and challenges for us. And what we have on stage is a good mix of representatives of perishable producers and people who provide logistic services in terms of cold chain facilities, cold chain infrastructure, as well as digital and technology solutions. I don't know how many of you have read some of the recent comments in the media as far as the avocado season is on right now. It says that there's a particular comment saying Kenya must lower the cost of production and the cost of doing business for Kenya to effectively compete in the global competitive market. And quite recently, there was a news that appeared. It's also in the context of the kind of farmers' protests that we have seen in European Union. Also because there's a lot of imports coming into Europe from different parts of the world. And this is not particularly restricted to European Union. And I think this is a kind of trend that you see around the world. Countries tend to protect its own business, its own produce. Therefore, they do tend to restrict import. And for various reasons, and this particular headline in the news was, Europe is creating an agricultural sinkhole for Africa to uphold the politics of pseudoscience. That news is available on the online space. The point I'm right now making is there are huge opportunities for Kenyan fresh produce, and there are enough number of challenges. And what we are trying to discuss in the next 40 minutes is probably we must be scratching the surface of the problem and trying to understand directly from people who are deep into the business here, and trying to understand how do we tide over? How do we find solutions for some of the challenges that we have? Let me start with Francis Murumbi. Francis has been in the industry for on either side. He was part of working with a grower, flamingos, and he's been an food safety and security expert, looking at standardization process, has a fair idea about the cold chain infrastructure for the fresh produce. How do you, Francis, how do you look at the Kenya's fresh produce infrastructure in terms from a supply chain logistic point of view? And what is the biggest opportunity that you see there in order to build that future proofing of the perishable logistics?
Thank you, Reji. Like you've heard, my name is Francis Murumbi. As far as the cold chain infrastructure is concerned in particularly Kenya, one thing we have to bear in mind is Kenya is along the equator. So we will typically have 12-hour days. Unlike Europe, where there is typically winter and summer, so we typically require cold chain solutions for our produce throughout the year. Now, if you look at the way the industry is structured, basically the horticulture industry, we've got the vegetables, the fruits, and then the flowers. What you'll typically find is the fruits and vegetables is dominated by smallholder farmers, unlike flowers, which is typically large-scale growers, processors, and exporters. So I think the biggest opportunity is looking at the first mile solution for especially the smallholder farmed product. That's veggies and fruits. If you compare fruits, veggies, and flowers, you'll find that the first mile for flowers is typically on an exporter's own farm. So the first mile is almost pretty close to cold storage facilities. But for smallholder farmers, who typically, if you look at a fruit farmer, you'll have on average a farmer having 20 trees or less. So having the critical mass of having a cold storage solution for these farmers is pretty challenging. So like I said, we're in the tropics, so we can harness the power of the sunlight through solar, the use of solar cold solutions. As we advance, we are getting more advanced technology in terms of solar. We are getting it cheaper. One of the biggest hindrances to solar investment has been the cost. But as we go along with the innovations, we are hopefully going to see more investments at the first mile for smallholders as far as cold storage is concerned. And this will be hopefully driven by solar energy.
Let me get Sharon into the discussion. Sharon, you represent Avocado Aggregators Association of Kenya, and this is the avocado season right now. There's been, I think yesterday there was a meeting with the Deputy President of Kenya on some of the challenges of the avocado farmers and for the avocado export. One of the critical point of concern is the Kenya Revenue Authority's electronic tax invoice management requirement as contained in the section 23 of the Finance Act. And the president, the deputy president himself said the economic potential in the avocado subsector is huge and calls for friendly interventions to streamline it for the farmer to fully benefit. I don't know to what extent an infrastructure situation of good cold chain facilities and innovations helping your avocado farmer members.
Okay, in regards to the eatings issue, let me address it first.
Okay.
And say that I think the government have had us as avocado industry because they've given us a listening ear to be able to know how best to handle this, because at the end of the day, avocado is an upcoming industry that needs more empowerment rather
That's right.
than discouragement. Hence, we've had consultation here and there with the government and especially with the Office of the Deputy President. And there's some good fruits coming from it because the question is, will increase tax base from avocado from avocado industry, or we look at the end that avocado answers foreign currency. So that's the approach that we are looking at as we see how to fetch money, revenue for Kenya in terms of developing our country. So in regards to the cold storage for avocado, avocado is mainly constituted of small-scale farmers, and I believe there's an issue of information reaching out to the small-scale farmers. So that's quite the biggest challenge because people are not yet empowered enough to understand the magnitude or the need of this cold storage as for now. And this is a gap that we need to do capacity building for these small-scale farmers so that we know how best we can have this infrastructure favoring the industry.
So as an industry organization, what are you doing in terms of building infrastructure with a private-public partnership? That's something that was actually also discussed in the morning. I think it is a need of the hour. If you have to support small-scale farmers, and even in the case of ETIMS, the issue is the small-scale farmers do not have access to digital technology tools and devices by which you are able to electronically transfer data, electronically transfer information. At the same time, we are on the stage sometimes discussing how digital transformation or digitalization of logistic and post-harvest processes are important for sustainability. So there is a competing interest there. So what will be your advice, or what will be your lobbying process with the government and with the private sector to create such an environment for your small-scale producers?
Currently, agriculture is a devolved issue in Kenya. So what we've been doing, like currently, Murang'a County, they are setting up aggregation centers. I think this will solve the issue of cold storage. So that's the approach that we are looking at, to partner mostly with the county governments. And also us as the association, we've taken up the role to ensure that we do these capacity buildings for our small scale farmers. Because at the end of the day, we are the ones that we engage mostly with. The small scale farmers engage mostly with our members, the aggregators. So that's what we are really looking at, as much as improving this industry. We get to hold the hands of our small-scale farmers and to empower them and to build them so that they can get the production, the return for their production.
Hassan, you're an exporter. You export most of the commodities that we discussed here. Where do you find the gap in terms of quality of infrastructure, both in terms of cold chain facility infrastructure as well as packaging solution for different types of commodity, different types of fresh produce that you export or import or export? Let's talk about export.
I'd like first to say that, as it has been said before, that Kenya is one of the only countries which is exporting horticultural produce using the small scale. And so far, there has been a lot of improvement, whereby exporters also are able to work directly with farmers, whereby they were able to find solutions to the challenges they were facing. And also the aggregators I think they're called horticultural produce marketing agents, who also work and help us to export. So you asked me about the cold chain. The only challenge that we have is that having a cold chain in Kenya is an expensive affair. Even the solar, it's expensive. You can't be able to provide it to every outgrower that you're working with. That's why you see most of the companies are trying to grow their avocados and the produce by themselves due to such challenges. So the only thing which is required is if as a country we are able to give support to the farmers through the counties, And I think something is being done now through this county aggregation and industrial parks, whereby they'll be able to solve this problem. Because a farmer, maybe he wants to harvest his fruit today, and maybe the exporter will come later in the day or the next day. So what happens is that some of that fruit might ripen, and that problem might have been solved if that farmer was able to have that cold chain facility as his farm, or at least at county level, something which is able to be shared, which will also make it easy for the aggregators to work, because they'll just bring their produce directly to the aggregation park and they'll have the solution. So by that one, we'll be able to solve the post-harvest losses.
Yeah, that's something that we heard in the morning also. Consolidation of these different services that in one industrial logistic park, so that as every different small scale farmers, they have access to that facility, maybe at a specific fees. Hassan, what is the kind of volume that you export annually, approximately?
I've never done an approximate. I'll not lie to you, but I'm moving volumes. I've not done the estimate.
And how much of that is sea freight and how much of that is air freight?
I can say that 97% of it is sea freight.
Okay.
Because air freight seems to be very, very expensive, and at one point you seem to be working for the airline.
Okay. Under the current crisis of Red Sea, do you find you need to resort to air freight because of the long voyage for particularly access to the European markets?
The Red Sea is quite of an issue which has affected our exports. But what I believe is that special circumstances require special measures, and I think with having the right kind of technologies which can be adopted, and it can be solved with that technology, because there are some countries which are very far from Europe, but they're exporting and their produce is arriving properly. So I think with proper kind of research, all these problems can be solved.
Patricia, you're a commercial manager with Cold Solutions Kenya, which you provide cold chain facilities or solutions to that. Tell us about how mature is that industry, how mature is the Kenya's cold chain infrastructure for fresh produce, and what are some of the specific solutions that you provide?
Thank you, Reji. So as Cold Solutions, we are very much trying to plug into the aspirations of the farmers and the aggregators. So we have developed a state-of-the-art facility at Tatu City. It's a 16,000 to 18,000 pallet position worth of a facility. It sits in a 6-acre piece of land with 16 chambers, and each of the chambers have the ability to regulate to any type of temperature regime that are required for our customers. So we are very much trying to plug into the aspiration of the government and that of the farmers and the aggregators and the outgrowers to avert food loss, to promote food security, and to very much reduce the post-harvest losses. So within the facility, we are trying to address the pain points of most of the farmers, and not just the farmers, because we play in different sectors. We are taking care of different segments within the market. So our biggest market is the agriculture, which is the fruits and veg. Then we've got the food manufacturing companies. We've got the hospitality. We've got the retail market. We've got this quick service restaurants and pharmaceuticals as well. We are really trying very much to take care of them and to make sure that we keep and maintain the integrity of the products all the way from farm gate to the facility. So as a company, we are now looking into setting up satellite facilities at the farm gate level and at the closer to the farmers' products. So we are able to aggregate them or put them together. And once they have acquired critical mass, we can move them to the central stores in Nairobi. We have also developed a pack house area or a value add service area that is equally temperature controlled to ensure that we maintain the integrity of the product and the freshness of the product at any one given time. So for us, we are trying very much to educate the market on our existence. Very important to note is that we sit in a special economic zone. So within the SEZ environment, we do then have some tax concessions that have been given to us by the government. So that again brings down the cost of supply chain for the farmers and for any other food production organizations, because you are 16% VAT exempt from all the services that we do provide. So it's been a major cost and a major pain point for farmers to, be able to afford the extra services that we do provide. And that is the reason why you find that the food loss is at about 40 to 60% in the Kenyan market. Because again, when they think about the extra cost of storage and the supply chain, by the time it gets to the end market, it's a margin upon a margin, and then it's not affordable at all in the market. But what we are saying is that because of the advantages of being within the special economic zone, they can take advantage of that, and they'll be able to save on the costs. So we very much trying to align with the aspirations. Again, we are looking at maintaining the environment and the climate changes through our ESG initiatives that we have put in place. So our refrigeration system uses ammonia, which is very quite friendly to the environment. And therefore, even when they're shipped out and for the ESG aspirations in Europe countries, we then are able to meet our carbon agenda. So thank you.
Patricia, you said about you have 16,000 to 18,000 pallet positions, and the facility is on a 6-acre land, and this is not in an SEZ, so you don't have the tax benefits as of now. And you're going to build facilities in an SEZ where you will have the tax benefits. As a result, you will be able to pass on that benefit to some of your customers, and you're building smaller cold chain facilities, pack houses closer to the production. Is that right?
No, so the facility is already in existence, it's operational, and sits within the SEZ environment. So our plan is to set up the satellite facilities across the counties, work with the government as well, look for private partnership with the government so that we're able to help the farmers to aggregate at the farm gate and then move them over to closer to the market in Nairobi. We do also have a facility for ripening of bananas. So that has been a major pain point for products that have to be harvested and they have to wait for long duration, especially for bananas before they're taken out to the market for sale. So we've been able to bridge that gap by introducing very safe system for ripening, quickly ripening bananas and sending them out to the market for sale for most of our farmers.
A large part of your customers, the farmer customers, they are small-scale farmers.
Yes, it's a combination of both the small-scale farmers and the aggregators. So the aggregators find that service more beneficial because they're able to consolidate from various small-scale farmers and then bring them all in large volumes. But we also have a number of small-scale farmers that are probably closer to the facility that we do offer this service.
Clarah, you represent Figorr, and you are in the space of technology, digital solutions, addressing different needs of different industries, and logistics, agriculture is, these are two verticals within your business. Track and trace, cold chain monitoring, what is the opportunity that you have for Figorr in the Kenyan fresh industry?
Thank you, Reji. So what Figorr has done is come up with innovative solutions to provide real-time visibility. I know throughout this conference we've been talking about end-to-end visibility, temperature monitoring. So that is part of the innovative solutions that we've come up with. IoT sensors that can be able to track and trace temperature, humidity of perishable products from the point of harvest, in the cold rooms, in the transportation trucks to the airport or the containers to the port, all the way to the customer. So just technology into the real-time insights to also help make data-driven decisions in terms of, product loss. If products are exposed to harsh temperatures, we know right now we have issues with climate change, so temperature disruptions are so many right now. So addressing that issue by real-time visibility, alerts and notifications whenever things like temperatures are breached for immediate risk mitigation. For example, a shipment going by air to, so it's say Europe, and then there's a layover in Dubai, and the shipment is exposed to 6 hours of very high temperature. The customer sitting in Europe can already be able to make a decision and say the shelf life is compromised, so I need to move this product fast. So just curbing product loss through data that is collected through our technology. So that just to add on to that, the opportunity in the Kenyan space, not just working with the agricultural companies, working with flower companies, different people in the perishable space, but in the agricultural space, we've been able to see customers being able to, make data-driven decisions, which is the key thing that we try to address. On top of that, we talk about infrastructure, and cold chain management doesn't just stop at infrastructure. There's the monitoring bit. So we also have this solution where we call it cold chain infrastructure mapping. So just mapping out different infrastructures, because we realize that some companies have infrastructure, for example, cold solutions, that integrate, aggregate different fresh produce products and store their products in the facility. But you'd realize that not everyone knows where these infrastructures are. So we do infrastructure mapping where we aggregate, we make a list of all the infrastructures available, cold trucks, cold rooms, and then having that in a platform where it's accessible even to the small scale farmers who do not have access to this infrastructure. So not just monitoring, but also giving insights into where the locations of this infrastructure where customers can store their products and transport.
Can I know who are your customers on the logistic space, the 3PLs? US solutions are meant both for the agriculture sector as well as for the logistics service providers.
Yes, we do. So the service is provided to growers, logistic companies, so everyone in the value chain, in the cold chain. So from the growers to the freight forwarders handling the products, all the way to the importers sitting in the different markets out of Africa.
Thanks. Francis, as I said, you've been setting standards, like one of your main responsibilities in the past. You're an operations and sustainability expert in terms of logistics for the perishables industry. If you look at, and it looks like the cold chain infrastructure built over the years for Kenya's flower industry, it looks like it is a well-developed and can compete on global standards. However, when you look at the perishable industry, perishable export, the growth that you see in Kenya's fruits and vegetable export is more recent, and therefore, how aggressive is the push to develop a similar infrastructure that is very similar to the flower industry? Do you see that this is something that is possible, but it is going to take a few years?
Thank you, Reji. So like we discussed earlier, as far as flowers is concerned, the main players are big exporters, big growers and exporters that have got the financial muscle to invest. And again, what you'll find is most of the flowers are grown in large-scale operations. The biggest majority of Kenyan flowers are in large-scale operations. So there's a first-mile solution for removal of field heat, which is quite advanced for flowers, like you've rightly said. Now, if you look at vegetables and fruits, that is mainly smallholder, farmer grown. So I think as of 2022, 70% of the avocado from Kenya was from smallholder growers. If you look at, again, data from the Kenya Economic Survey of 2022, Kenya earned about 147 billion Kenya shillings from horticulture. And of that, 71% was from flowers, 16% veg, and 13% from fruits. The other aspects, as you look at veg, fruits compared to flowers, is who buys these products. So for example, if someone is buying a flower in Europe, a bouquet, a rose bouquet. For example, last month we had the Valentine's, and I think earlier this month we had the Mother's Day. When someone buys that product, the flower, they want it to last as long as possible. So they'll go and put it in a vase. They want it to last for maybe 10 days, 14 days, whatever. If you're buying a veg or fruit, you might probably consume it the same evening. So the aesthetics of the flowers are more important long-term compared to the food, because the food is quickly consumed. Now, I think because of that desire for proper aesthetics of the flower, there is then more importance given to cold chain for flowers, to ensure that what some people refer to as the degree hours is as minimal as possible, to give these flowers the longest possible time, to give it the legs to be able to last on the consumer's table. Now, as we are going ahead, I think there is investment that is going into fruits and vegetables. I know there are a lot of players in the development world that are considering putting up cold storage infrastructure for fruits and veg. Obviously, the biggest players being smallholder farmers, that will be targeting that. There have been some discussions with some development partners to set up what they're calling export supply hubs closer to the first mile of production for fruits and veg. So I think as we go along, there is going to be more and more investment in cold chain infrastructure for fruits and veg. Now, a lot needs to be done in terms of reducing costs. Maybe the issue of the tax regime in Kenya needs to be looked at so that investors are more incentivized to invest in this infrastructure. But I think as we go along, as we are competing with other countries in Africa that are developing, other countries maybe in Central and South America, we don't have a choice but to develop this infrastructure. Again, this is critical because as we go along, there is the issue of sea freight, and there is, I think, there is a lot of talk about the reduction of carbon footprints as far as freighting is concerned. So if you compare something like French beans, for example, I think some study was done some time back, and 1 kilo of air freighted French beans has the same carbon footprint as 177 kilos of sea freighted French beans. So I think with time, cost reduction, climate change mitigation, all these considerations will ensure that these investments are being driven into these sectors.
Sharon, do you, from when you talk to your members in the avocado farmers, what are some of their demands? Cost, of course, being is an important factor, whether it is a freight cost, the cost of having the packaging and the storage. And do you see that there is an intent to build better facilities, infrastructure, and is there investment coming into that space?
If I got you right, you're asking if the demands that our members have come in terms of the infrastructure that we have as a nation, yeah?
Yeah, and is there investment coming into the infrastructure, building infrastructure?
Kenya is a developing country, yeah? So we find most of the interior places are not yet developed and we don't have the right infrastructures. And this is a national issue that the government should look into. And most of the avocados that we aggregate, we consolidate from far-end places that you get the infrastructure is not right. And it's a matter that needs to be looked into so that we can facilitate how we get the fruits best and transport them to the right place in the right time and the right way.
Okay. Hassan, you are an exporter. You don't grow fruits and vegetables, but you consolidate fresh produce from different farmers. Are you satisfied with the kind of packaging it comes in? Are you satisfied the quality of fresh produce that you get to export to different markets?
Packaging in Kenya remains to be an issue, but there are several companies who have been able to produce the quality. But as you understand, in Kenya, the manufacturing costs are very, very high. So whenever you get that good quality, the price is very high. And you have to move that price to the other side, which makes you seem to be expensive. So the thing basically is that we need to do something about reducing the cost of production in the country. How can we achieve that? Maybe we can reduce the costs of electricity. We can reduce the taxes that we impose on these companies, whereby we can maybe have a focus on quantity rather than having a focus on, what do I mean is that why should I tax one company 1 billion when I can tax 100 companies, a small percentage, and I get from them 10 billion? So that's the kind of perspective that I'd like the government maybe to look into from that side, because with that one, we can even be able to increase the number of exports that we can do, so that will reduce also the imports, whereby the economy will be back to where it was before.
So Sharon, so are you taking that concern, the cost of packaging, are you taking those concerns to the government, to the regulators, as a representative of farmers?
Yes, we are. Currently, there's a task force for avocado that has been formed, and I'm particularly a member of that task force. And as I've said, avocado is an upcoming industry. So it has taken the interest of the government and also the citizen of Kenya to see how best we can improve this industry. Because currently in Kenya, this is the most industry that is having an upward mobility. There's progress, there's growth. So yes, these issues, we are all tabling them in the task force. And I believe packaging is one of it. The infrastructure, as you've asked, is one of the issues that we are looking into. The issue of freight, as you have said, they think that they're working for the freight. So these all things that are being channeled into this task force. So I believe as we progress, and also as we come at the end of the task force, we'll have resolutions and solutions that will provide a better level, a ground to see that we've facilitated the growth of the industry.
Are you asking the government for subsidies? Are you asking the government for tax exemptions?
Yes, we are. And I've said, as I started, we are requesting for exemption for taxes for the primary producers, agricultural primary producers. And I think we'll have a gazettement within the course of the day or by the end of this week that the farmers will be exempted in the items issue. And then there's subsidies for the fertilizers. That's what we're asking for. What variety is susceptible to fruit fly and all that. So we are also asking for subsidies for the pesticides. And also we are asking for capacity building, especially for the small scale farmers, because avocado industry is constituted by 70% of small scale farmers. So that's the most thing that on my end as an aggregator, and also as an association that represents the small scale farmers, that's what we are requesting and placing on the table, so that we can ensure on this side, whereby the small scale farmers are the largest contributors to the industry, that we increase their productivity and also they get the best revenue from their production.
I want to focus now my attention to three principles of sustainability, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle. To all of you, particularly first to Patricia as well as to Clarah, how are these principles applied into the operations and logistics of perishable exports from Kenya? particularly from the standpoint of sustainability, because we say that digitalization is a way to is one of the ways that you can reach sustainable goals. And probably in the building the cold chain infrastructure, you use much more sustainable solutions to either in terms of solar, in terms of other means. So just want to get both of you to talk about how you're building the sustainability goes into the way that you're building solutions for fresh produce exporters.
Okay, so I would start. So for the solution that we're offering, which is digitalization and innovative solutions, we have these sensors that use batteries, for example. So we produce and manufacture devices that can be used multiple times, as opposed to just the single-use devices that are in the market, that whenever they get to the destination, they need to be destroyed. So we try to reduce the amount or the value of electronic waste. That's one of the ways that I would say we try to kind of reuse and make sure that we're being sustainable. The other bit is to work with companies, with cold chain infrastructure, with airlines, to make sure that we are always compliant to all the regulatory authorities and what is expected for us in terms of technology. I would say that's how we would handle sustainability from our end.
So for cold solutions, we have ensured that we maintain the environment very well. And by so doing, we have ensured that our refrigeration system is not the neon gas, something like that, but ammonia, which is a green gas and is friendly to the environment. We are in the process of deploying solar across the 6-acre facility that will save 30% of electricity within the facility. Again, with our ESG aspirations, we have ensured that we handle products that do not go more than 4,000 or 6,000 miles. Therefore, we do not transport air freight products to the airport. We allow the customers to do that on their own. That way, we are able to save and to promote our carbon agenda. Another thing is that we have tried very much to recycle the building materials that were used within building the facility. Therefore, we have acquired what you call a LEED gold membership with the infrastructure that we have put in place. So all this is just in a way to promote sustainability within the organization.
Hassan, are your customers in the West, to where you are exporting your fresh produce, are they demanding, or are they asked for how sustainable is your process? Are your boxes being used again? Are they being recycled, reused? What is the kind of demand that your customers have when you are exporting fresh produce from Kenya?
Actually, a lot of these customers, as per the regulations in their countries, these are some of the things that they demand to hear and they want to hear, because without that, they can't be able to give you an order. So at the moment, in terms of the Kenya exports, we have good regulations whereby all the packaging materials we use, they are recyclable, including the boxes. Even if we look at them from down, they're written that you can recycle them. And also now there's new technology whereby we're able to use these plastic crates, which are also reusable. So nothing goes to waste in terms of packaging materials at the moment for the exports in Kenya.
Francis, your thoughts on, you still consult a number of companies on supply chain and operations excellence. Your thoughts on reduce, reuse, recycle?
So I think it's a big topic for all the players in the value chains, in the supply chain, especially the major retailers in Europe. So I had mentioned the issue about the carbon footprint as far as shipping, either by sea or by air. Now, one of the key factors in recycling is the type of packaging our produce is exported in. So packaging basically serves two purposes: A, to protect the product, and basically to to hold it and for presentation. There's been a move from use of some years back PVC to now use of LDPE and PET for packaging the plastics and the films, and that is basically recyclable. Now, some of the major retailers in Europe, one of the things they are driving at is to be able to have packaging that does not have additional adhesive labels or what they call the acetate labels, because that one then has a negative impact on how recyclable that product is. There's been a discussion about reuse, but basically if you send some packaging to Europe or Middle East and you want to reuse it back in Kenya, there has to be an efficient southbound sort of connection, either by sea or by air, to be able to get that packaging back in Kenya. I think there have been some challenges there, in terms of reliability of the southbound freighters, and how often they are able to come back, because most of these freighters, obviously, they won't, as they're coming back, they are fully laden. And so the southbound routes need to be more efficient in terms of what is coming back to Kenya. So reuse is possible, but then logistics from Europe here needs to be looked at. Locally, I think it's much simpler, but the amount of packaging used for local veg and fruit is not as much as what we are exporting at the moment.
Thanks. If there are questions from the audience, I'll just take 2 questions before I wind up the sessions.
Good afternoon. My name is Isaac Nyainda. I'm a consultant and I'm also an exporter. So my question goes to Patricia. I think she's the one who was talking about cold storage. And we know that we do a lot of mango exports from Kenya to the Middle East. And then most of the mangoes for export are grown around Makueni County. And the only facility that we have there is an HCD facility that is located at Kibwezi, and it has only 3 cold rooms. And most of the exporters actually go there to do their packing, because for mangoes it's hand packing. There's a big opportunity for a private sector to set up a cold chain facility in those regions, because there is need for that. So will you be willing to invest in those areas?
As I had said earlier, our aspiration as a company is to set up satellite cold storage facilities across the counties. We do know that the government also has a plan to do that. So we are on a wait and see on what they plan to do. But as a private entity, yes, those aspirations are there. Those plans are there. As to the timelines, I may not be able to tell you the timelines right now, because we just commissioned our flagship facility at Tatu City. So those plans are there to set up those satellite facilities across the counties, yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to conclude with this question to all of you. If you look at the theme of the event is the future of perishable logistics, sustainable, digital, and commercially viable. So we have to keep in mind any business that you do, you have to make, it has to be commercially viable, you have to be profitable. But the question is, are we prepared to do things for the future which is sustainable, digital, and certainly commercially viable?
I think, well, the cost of technology is very high. It's not cheap. And I think the first step is to try to manufacture as close to home as possible, reduce the lead time, also reduce the costs. And one of the things that we've been able to do is to partner with a local company for manufacturing. So basically, I would say if we can be able to reduce the cost of manufacturing, instead of manufacturing in China and having to ship and pay duties and all that. So manufacturing close to home would be a way to reduce the cost, and we can also in end reduce the cost to our consumers.
Francis?
So I think as a country, definitely, it's critical that there's some investment that goes into this, because other countries are also advancing and they're also investing in this, so we shouldn't be left behind. I think the key important thing is for investors and businesses and exporters is to, once you invest, you get a return on your investment. Now with improving technologies and innovations, I think the cost of some of these things will gradually go down. And I believe the investor, exporter, business will be able to get a return on the investment. Basically, better cold chains, improved efficiencies, reduced costs, hence profitability and sustainability.
Patricia?
Yeah, there's a rising demand in, modern cold chain facilities and equipments across the country. And that would include transportation as well, refrigerated trucks, and the need to have, state-of-the-art and well maintained vehicles that can transport the products without necessarily having to compromise the freshness or the quality of the product or the efficacy of the product. So there's growing need actually when you see that in the country right now, and everybody is moving and gearing towards that direction of innovations and sustainability.
Hassan?
First of all, is that I'm a strict believer in policies, and I'd like to say is that without the right policies, we can't achieve sustainability. For instance, what was happening in Kenya for the past few months, the issue with the e-teams. First of all, I'd like to thank the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for intervening immediately and helping us solve the issue, because that issue, if not solved, it will have affected one of the SDG goals, which is food security. If this farmer was forced to give you an invoice, he'd stop farming. What would that mean? That means there'll be no food security totally in the country. And another thing is that also in the same policies is that we should be able to provide a friendly business environment for whoever is investing, also the companies which have come to Kenya to invest in sustainability. They should have that good environment for them to be able to proceed. Otherwise, it will be difficult. So the first thing is policies.
Sharon?
There's an opportunity for us to grow and to progress as a country in the issue of infrastructure and all that entails agriculture. And I believe there's a lot to be done, yes. And I would invite like every stakeholder, the private sector and also the government to play their roles in ensuring that we have a productive kind of thing in the agriculture, that everyone earns their revenue and gets the best out of it. And also, us as the association, we would also like to invite all those members that would like to partner with us so that you can see as Avocado is growing, and also as we help the small-scale farmers to get empowered and also to be informed, we would like to partner with anyone that would love to partner with us so that we can ensure we have a progressive industry.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the panel speakers. Thank you so much.